This video will likely blow your mind, and I'm so glad I've made it, so enjoy the show. This video is going to be quite long, so I would recommend getting a popcorn or at least a cup of tea or coffee or something that you want to drink. Maybe some milk, I don't know. Anyways, this is my greatest creation so far. Why would I say this? Well, because as some of you guessed it, this is a water reservoir. What is that for? Well, right here I have a radiator, just like I said I would have. So this is basically, it's basically this. So this is a plate of aluminum that's about 6 millimeters thick, which has a channel for water to run through and a plate on each side. So with these two nipples, this is kind of like this in the Snowmobile, it goes right here. So all of that section is using the snow in the tunnel to cool the motor and all the what's inside. So you can use it to cool a motor, ESC, just about everything, a battery if you want. So this is an option. So the reason why it's here is because I didn't have any more room in this machine to have it anywhere else. So I put it here. It has a 50-50 mix of water and coolant. So it won't freeze at 0 degrees or it won't boil at 100. It's a bit further. But at least it gives me some breathing room, and it shouldn't reach these temperatures at all. So that's fine for now. Some of you commented that this would be a nitro reservoir for a nitro engine, but obviously this can't be nitro because like this is plastic, so it can't withstand the heat, and like you need so much, like just the exhaust would have to shoot out the side. The exhaust like is a straight line. Take this truck for example. You see the engine? This is a huge engine. This is like a 5.9. It has the engine going out here in a straight line, so there's no way this would fit here. So like there's a lot of reason why a nitro engine cannot fit in here. So please stop asking me if there's a nitro engine in this. There might be, but don't worry. You need a water reservoir, a system to cool the engine, and the exhaust, and the carburetor, filter. Like there's way too much stuff to be able to fit in here. So that's one thing. You would also need a pump to pump the water from the reservoir in this and back inside. So there's just no space for any extra stuff. So now that's out of the way, let me show the system. Oh god damn it, what have I done again? First of all, this is the reincarnation of Project Meteor. Project Meteor was always about having a 1/5 scale with a nitro engine made using either 3D design, which is this, or photogrammetry, which was the Polaris you saw before. So, oh man, there's just so much to say about that. So, yeah, this was the single biggest challenge I ever had to do on this channel, like by far. This is simple to put a motor, like an electric motor in there. That's simple. You just put the motor, gears, and the battery, and the ESC, servo, that's it. But this has, like, even my T-Max, hold up, just to give you an idea. That's the T-Max. So you have the engine here, the exhaust pipe here, the fuel cell or water reservoir, whatever. You have the filter, transmission, servo for throttle, servo for reverse, steering servo, and receiver, and you need a battery here. Like, how do you possibly can fit all of this in this? It's impossible, or so I thought. Last year I made this water cooling head for this. This is a TRX 2.5 engine. If you haven't seen how it's built, you can watch it here. And basically I made the water cooling head. Now it's not leaking anymore. I used some silicone around the head, so that's fixed. So let's start with the obvious stuff. This is the pump, which All the yellow lines, that's for the coolant. It's the same color as the press stone to prevent freezing. So all the yellow lines are cooling. So basically it goes from the reservoir. Here, let me take this off. This reservoir, which is cooling, and it goes to this, all the way into a little filter here that you can see a little bit. Goes in a pump, goes through the head, then straight after the head goes in the radiator, and then goes back into this. But why is there 3 tubes here? Well, if you have a closed loop system, like, pressure is going to build up, so you need a way to escape the pressure. But this is a snowmobile, it's not as stable as, say, a T-Max. So you need a system that lets the pressure out but won't let the water and stuff out of here. So that's why my first challenge was to figure out a way to incorporate this thing, which is a 3D printed one-way valve, which a 6mm airsoft BB is here with a small o-ring. So basically air can flow through, but as soon as it flips over, the BB goes to the o-ring and it seals the system, so the water and the coolant won't just flush out. So that's great. Only problem for now is that it's inside the cab, so in theory it's gonna spill all over, just a few drops, but no problem so far. Now for the engine. What does the engine needs? Well, obviously it needs some fuel. So here's the fuel tank. This is a 125 milliliter bottle, which conveniently fits all the way here. So I have a tiny bit of space here for a few electronics and stuff. So I can fill my reservoir with an auxiliary pump, because there's no like cap I can easily open to fill it up. So an external pump pumps the fuel into here. Then the fuel goes into a filter, into a valve, so I can shut it at distance. More on that later. And then goes into the carburetor, mixes with the air, does explosion. But then, where's the exhaust? Glad you ask. Right there. That's the exhaust. You can barely see the curve into it, because the exhaust comes here, loops into that blue thing, and flips around and goes down right here into that little port. How I was able to make that? Well, it's 3D printed, and because it's plastic and it's like basically fire, exhaust is super hot. I've put some high temperature epoxy around it so it holds the shape of the exhaust, and even if some plastic melts, it's not the end of the world. It can withstand temperature. It becomes a tiny bit softer when it's hot, but not to the point where it's a problem. So the next question you might be answering, like, why is there so many wires in here? Well, might as well start by the battery. So in here, like I said, there's a battery because I didn't have any more space in this. Like, you can see how full it is. There's no space for a battery. So let me take these bungees off. So in here, you have a 2S LiPo, 800 milliamp hour, and you have a LiPo indicator for the voltage, so it basically beeps when the system is off, because there's so many stuff in here. I need to find a way to know when the battery is empty. So you have this, and since this is all sealed and contained, I put a 25 amp fuse in here that will blow up if a problem appears, but it shouldn't blow up really. Then the wire goes here, goes all the way to the front to this switch, which is like the main power switch. It gives power to literally everything. So when you flip the switch on, it gives power to, first of all, the BEC here, because this is 7.4 volts. You don't want to shoot 7.4 volts to all of the electronics if they're not rated for that. So I have a BEC here, and that gives power to this receiver, which is a airplane receiver, because that's the only thing that could have enough channels for this. Here, Meteor 1. So, receiver here, and a bunch of wire here, because one, this has lights, just like the previous models. So this is the light output, because I need to obviously open the hood every once in a while, and gives power to the servo, which is all the way down in here. You literally can't see it, but it's the same spot as the other machines. So the pump sits literally on top of the servo, to give you an idea. So servo, and you have one other servo that's behind that filter that gives the throttle, because the carburetor is here, so you need a servo to be like somewhere around there. Might as well take the side panel off. So here you have the throttle servo, which is linked to the carburetor here. You can barely see it, but that's linked. And so that's throttle. And what else is necessary? Well, you need to give it gas, but every once in a while you need to stop it, and you don't want to take the panel off to stop the snowmobiles from running away. So you need to shut the fuel. How do you do that? Well, usually you just pinch the fuel line, but since this is all closed up, you can't. So here I've made this. This is basically a servo connected to a little system that punches, like crushes the fuel line so it stops. And I've tested it thoroughly. It works flawlessly. It's super simple, super small. So that's one auxiliary. So once it's started and you run it for a while, you need to stop it. That's easy. You flip the switch, system's off. Actually, I can show you how it works. So flip this on, and this is this switch, I believe. Super simple, effective, just works. All right, that took me not too long to make. That's fine. Okay, so 7.4 volts goes to the BEC to power these things. It also gives power to a relay that's over here, that blue thing. And that relay is gonna be always powered on as long as this is on, but it waits for a signal from something else. Because like I said in the last Q&A, or whatever it's called, I said I don't want to make a Joe average sled, as you can obviously see. I haven't seen too many people put nitro engines in snowmobiles. But to make it stand out, this is the first nitro snowmobile based on the G4 chassis from Skidoo. This is the first nitro one, first nitro long track. But because just making a nitro snowmobile was too easy, it had to be water cooled. So this is the first water cooled first snowmobile, but I believe first RC that I see that uses water cooling to cool it. I haven't seen too many of them. Actually, I don't think I've seen any RCs using no, wait, hold on, that's not true. I think Brian Timms, link up there, I think he made one, but I don't think he was successful with the making of his snowmobile. So that's the first I've seen that's working on YouTube, so that's a plus. But because all of this was too simple, I had to make it remote start. That's right, this thing has a remote start built in. Let me explain. So, like I said, you have a relay back there, and when you flip the switch, which is that one, when you flip the switch, it does two things. First of all, it activates this thing, which is, like, you can't see it much, but this is a servo that was stripped down and put a diode and a capacitor to click the relay down here. So this is basically a remote switch, and the switch gives power to the motor to turn it on with 7.4 volt from the battery. But because you need to warm the glow plug, you can't shove 7.4 volts. So here you have a DC-DC converter that takes the 7.4 volts of the battery and converts it to roughly 1.25 volts to heat the glow plug and start the engine. I'm tired. So not only this is the first remote start snowmobile, it's the first remote start snowmobile water cooled with kill switch, with pump, with like, there's so much stuff here. That's crazy. How have I been able to make this thing? I still can't believe it. I still need to do some testing because I didn't have much time to do some testing with this. I mainly worked on making the electric version work better, so not much time for this thing. Think about every challenge that I had to overcome to make that work. That's crazy. You need to deal with the heat, like just the motor. It can't sit on directly on plastic. So there's a wood block that's under the motor that's supported, and there's an aluminum plate here, obviously, to hold it up the top. But you have wood there, aluminum here to dissipate the heat and insulate from the plastic so it won't melt. You also need to make sure all the hoses and the clutch and everything, you need to make sure every element dissipates the heat but doesn't melt the plastic. Just that by itself is crazy as a challenge, and I managed to pull it off. That's crazy. But because this could be very well a simple not working motor on a not working snowmobile, let me show you how that works. Okay, so enough of me talking, let's actually start this thing. So fuel line is open, start the controller, start the main power. I'm not gonna start the pump just yet, just wait till I'm started. So here we go. And there you have it. Perfectly working nitro sled. Let's check the temperature real quick. 30 something. Can turn the pump off. Cooling head. Look at that. 38 degrees. That's pretty cool for a head. Header is 40 something, 45 maybe. Like, that's pretty insane how cool that thing is. That thing works. Can you believe this shit? Man, that's awesome. This is the first time it's been put in the snow. This is a big moment, guys. Still missing the side panel, but I want to be able to shut it off if I need to. So, let's start it, then open the lid, turn on the pump, and then we'll test it. Let's go. Yep. Probably because it's cold here. I really need a screwdriver, guys. This is painful to the fingers. We don't need that fan and lights. Start it again. Ah, that's much better. Well, that would explain a lot. All the water boiled off. Loop is open. No more water in the reservoir. That's time to stop. I guess this is why we're doing tests. The engine was properly tuned for inside, but when you go outside, it becomes way too lean and you need to reach it up a whole lot. So, yeah. I'll bring a screwdriver next time. Thanks for watching, and if you want to see more content about this crazy stupid project I have, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. If you have any question, leave a comment, and on that note, take care and I'll catch you next time. Bye.